Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Dure Show, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 23rd. Thanks for tuning into the show today and staying up to date on all the groundbreaking news where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please make sure you like, follow, and share the show with some friends. I always appreciate when you do that. Let's get ready for the best hour radio has to offer, and let's go right into this genius bill. We've got to start off talking about this today. It was just passed the other day. I've got this article in the Trends Journal. We needed to break this down, because this is something that is being ushered in that is not what it appears to be in the face of it. The other day I told you that the Genius Bill was passed without any type of anti-CBDC regulations in it. And people said, well, it's not really CBDC. It's not the same thing. Everything will be fine. It's just like another cryptocurrency. But I say, wait a minute. I delved into this topic and I found out that this is actually almost like a Trojan horse, if you will. Now, it's going to be a Fed-sanctioned token system that is issued by these corporations that can surveil, control, and track without any type of oversight on you. Now, at least with a CBDC, there would be some type of congressional oversight involved. This is the exact opposite. This is a privatized token currency, this stablecoin. There's nothing there. There's nobody regulating it. Now, last I checked, you and I did not ask for this, did we? I didn't ask for this. I know what this leads to. So again, these corporate stable coins will be controlled by the Fed. That's what it'll be. This is what the White House passed on Monday. Now, some people are saying we'd be better off with just direct CBDC because, again, there'd be this oversight. But they're still the same thing. This is the same exact thing, but even worse. Because now there is no congressional oversight. Congress doesn't even have any input in this. It's just run by the Fed and the Treasury. We can see how easily that can get out of control, can't we? So now we have this illusion of choice, though, which turns into total control by the federal government. What do I mean by that? So again, these corporate stablecoins can simply just masquerade as a free market innovation. Yeah? Giving you the illusion, right? The illusion. George Carlin used to talk about that. The illusion of choice, right? Of, again, having a decentralized or private alternative to using government money. So, again, replacing your dollar bills, your coins, your silver dollars, all that great stuff. The hard physical currency where they can't really track you. But behind the curtain, you have the Fed and the Treasury still pulling the strings and, of course, still tracking you. That's the big problem with this. No congressional accountability. What would that mean, though? It means you have the Fed, the CBDC, it's a central bank digital currency still, that, again, is going to require congressional approval, right? But here we're not going to see that at all. But you will have corporate-issued stablecoins that can be rolled out without any type of public oversight. Do you understand how this can get very, very bad? Not a good thing, folks. Not a good thing. And of course, along with this comes the real issue, the surveillance. Yes? The surveillance. So again, when these private firms, they issue this money in the guise of a stablecoin, the Fed will regulate the flow of it because they'll be the ones dishing it out there to you. And of course, the government can then gain full surveillance over really everything that you purchase. And of course, the Fed is watching in the background. Nothing leads to them because we can never question the Fed because they're supposed to be an independent organization. Simply not going to happen. Simply not going to happen. So these stable coins can be programmed just like a central bank digital currency. the transactions. They can figure out everything you're buying. They can deny based on your social credit score. Look no further than China if you want to see how wonderful that system is in communist China. You can see the location, your spending habit, all this. They know everything about what you spend your money on. Now, they already have ways to do this when you use your debit card. They say, oh, at 4:20 today, you went and bought gasoline. 4:28, you went and bought groceries at Whole Foods. At, 5 o'clock, you went to In-N-Out Burger. They can figure out how much you spend. How much. They can see your patterns. Oh, he goes twice a month to this place. Oh, he goes here. Now we can kind of, see what this person is doing. So it's like a cross-platform tracking. The how you shop, how you browse, how you travel, what you prefer to use, where you like to go. Are you going to Ralph's or are you going to Whole Foods? Where do you like to go? Where does this person like to go? They can create profiles on you and all that other nonsense without ever even passing a law. Also, if they want to, or they decide to, for example, let's say you get really defiant. Let's say you get defiant. And you start protesting the government on, let's say, America's involvement in Gaza. And the travesties that are being inflicted upon the Gazan population, the starving, you have people without access to food and water, electricity. You're having people killed day in and day out. They're supposed to be in a ceasefire right now. But you come out and you start speaking out against this, saying, hey, these people are getting killed with the weapons we're sending over there. We have 60,000 plus dead Palestinians that we know of based on their health ministry. We have some 400,000 missing. The whole place is in ruins. And you're supposed to be in a ceasefire, yet people are still getting shot when they're getting food. Let's say you go out and say something like that, which is happening, by the way. And let's say the government doesn't like that. Well, they can simply just turn off your ability to use your stablecoin. Now, I don't think I need to go too much into detail with this. If they decide to issue these stablecoins, what do you think the next step would be? They're going to have to hold you accountable some way. Yes, I think you'd all agree on that. They're not going to just dish it out. There's got to be some backing to this, right? That they know who they're giving this digital currency to. The problem with this, and pay attention to this, they will probably issue you some type of ID. And I told you before, their goal is to get a national ID, not just a state ID, not a passport, a national ID card. That's what they want. Everyone's got a number, everyone's got this, everyone's got all on a system, right? The government controls it, not just your local state. And like anything, when something gets this big, it becomes more problematic. Obviously, again, they can surveil you much easier. Let's say they do this, though. And the dollar, because it's devaluing so quickly, it's deteriorating right in front of our eyes. Let's say they start, you know what, we're going to do away the dollar. We like this stablecoin. It's not a CBDC, don't worry. And we're going to go all in with this stablecoin. Well, then everyone's going to have that national ID card, likely upon birth. And again, they'll do everything I just mentioned to you. They'll track those transactions. They'll give you a social credit score. So, if you start protesting the government, you start doing things the government doesn't like, the government can then turn off that access to you. They can just turn it off. Then you have no way to pay your rent or your mortgage or buy food and water and clothing and gasoline. And how are you going to buy a car? How are you going to pay a bus fee if everything's digital? How are you going to get access to this stuff? You're not. And there's no currency they can go and use. No one can just give you their currency. So it's a real slippery slope on what they can do with this. It's complete control, folks. That's what it comes down to. Everything in this is about more control from the government. Not a good thing at all. And again, we have the corporate tech giants, of course, the central banking system, merging into one. The corporations and the banking system coming together. The corporations profit from this adoption. Again, hey, you never know. Maybe the Fed says, hey, we're not going to work with any small businesses anymore. We don't, we're going to work with just big businesses, Sorry, you have to have X number of people coming to your store a month. That closes all your small businesses out of the system. Puts them out of business. They have nothing. Right? It's over. Then the Fed, of course, enforces the compliance. We're not going to issue money to X, Y, and Z, who are, we can make it whatever you want. They're protesting the government. They're saying this online, right? We'll have the word police, right? Thought police come in on all the social media apps. Hey, someone's liking this post. We don't like this. Everyone that liked this post, social credit score goes down. We're going to restrict you now for several days until you get, back with it. Otherwise, you lose more points. You're going to think with the way we want you to think. You're going to do what we want you to do. You're going to like what we want you to like. You're not going to share things that go against what we are telling you. Do you see how easily this can get out of control? And what is taking place with this Genius Act? Not a good thing. The last thing I'm going to share with you, too, it won't stop with just an ID card or the stablecoin or the CBDC or whatever you want to call it. Congress will have nothing to do with it, apparently, because, again, they're circumventing Congress with this bill. What's going to happen eventually? They're going to say, you know what? People have these ID cards. It's too much. People are forgetting them. We're not, we want to make these transactions faster. We're going to put a chip in everyone's palm. Put it in at birth. It's going to have all the information on the chip, all your information, anything you could want. Has to do with these digital transactions, these banking transactions. And, of course, all your information, I'm sure, will be in there as well. Once you scan that chip, everything's in there. Now, again, let's say you get out of line. And let's say the government's not fond of something you're doing or liking or saying on social media, or you're protesting. Well, the bank can come in and just shut that chip off. Right? We already live in a surveillance state with these cameras all over the place. Oh, we saw you at this protest. We're going to shut this chip off now for 3 days. Show up again, we'll shut off for another 3 days. You see how this can get really tyrannical really quickly. And last I checked, I never voted for the state putting up cameras all over the place. It's just the slow incrementation, the slow increments of, again, pushing you to this police state, pushing you to this digital currency, pushing you through this national ID system that they want. But again, it comes down to, again, complete control. You're locked in digital servitude forever, folks. How do you get out of it then? We should always demand that we have hard money and hard currency. That should be, again, regulated by Congress, not the Fed, which is what it is now. And it should be backed in something. That way they don't devalue the hell out of it. I mean, our dollar bills now are worth 2-3 pennies of the original value. It's ridiculous. Again, that's why I see all these other countries, these BRIC nations, also. Not just because they're fed up with the United States, but because the currency isn't worth what it was. That's why you see people moving away from it. Now, Trump, of course, publicly rejects these CBDCs, but look what he just signed into law. Again, supporting these corporate stable coins, regulated by the Fed. Come on. Who's this appealing to? Conservatives? Crypto fans? It's pushing you all in the same tyrannical dungeon, folks. That's what it's coming down to. Under the guise, of course, of being a stable coin and not a CBDC. We got to keep our eye on this. We should be up in arms about this, because this is a step in that direction. That's where we're headed right now. And I don't think we want to be in the Babylon digital cage the rest of our lives. It'd be complete control, folks. That's what it'd be. It'd be complete control. And nobody should want this at all. All right, let's move on to another aspect of our economy now. Let's move on to this. This is a good article here in the Wall Street Journal. They always have a couple good articles, I think. This is their economy section. It says here that home prices are now hit record high in June, dragging down sales. Wonderful, right? I'm sure the real estate industry loves this, don't you? Home prices hit a new high in June with the crucial spring sales season fizzling. Signs that a housing market recovery is unlikely in 2025. Now, home buyers were hesitant now to jump into the market this spring, which is usually the busiest time of the year. Home sales fell to a 9-month low in June. while the home prices are at record highs. Mortgages above 6.5%, and have made home purchases unaffordable for very many people. Now, just to give you a little insight here, a little history here, the June price for the U.S. median home price is now $435,300 for your average size home. We're not talking about something extravagant here. We're talking about a modest home in a modest neighborhood. The national average is $435,300. Now take it back 26 years to 1999 in January. It was just $133,600. So you see how this is really not good. We're moving in this direction where the price of a home now is becoming more and more just a dream and not a reality for many people. You know, I think back to the Reagan years, even though I was barely alive and had no idea what was going on because I was just a small child. But in the Reagan years, Reagan wanted people to buy homes because he understands that if you own something, not only are you going to take care of it more, but it's yours. You're not living at the will of paying someone, rent money for the rest of your life. It's an investment. It's a good investment. You own your own piece of land. That is part of the American dream. And we're seeing that now falling out of place much, much more, unfortunately. So as the home prices are falling in some parts of the country, like in Texas and Florida, not in Miami though, where the inventory of homes for sale has climbed, but the supply of homes for sale nationally is still below pre-pandemic levels, which again is pushing up the sale prices for many of these major markets. It goes back to a couple of things here. What's affecting this? Yes, we have supply and demand, but the cost itself is not something realistic for many people. And especially at a time like right now, when we just went through years of stagflation with Joe Biden, lots of inflation, lots of degrowth, lots of red tape. We're slowly seeing the economy come back, but it's still unbalanced because, again, as I mentioned to you, these Trump tariffs. And when Donald Trump can just wake up and decide, you know what, we're putting a tariff on Russia. We're putting a tariff on China. We're putting a tariff on India or Brazil or South Africa or wherever the hell he decides to put these tariffs. Again, which is unconstitutional because Congress has to pass tariffs. That's the legislative branch. He's enforcing what they want to put in. And again, I'm not opposed to him having these tariffs, but it should go through the proper channel so it is something that can be discussed. It's not just something he can do off the cuff. Again, we have to get the entire Congress in both houses to pass it. So therefore, it's going to be something a little bit more controllable. People understand what's happening. There's dialogue about this. That's why we have a legislator. We don't just have a president. I know some people are going to get at me. What do you mean, Marco? Come on. Trump's doing a great job. Okay, well, he's still not following the Constitution according to these tariffs. The president cannot alone issue these tariffs. It has to be Congress. And again, we can raise them, as we saw with China, when he got up to, 150% at one point? But he can say, well, we'll make it 25. If you do this, we'll make it 15. I mean, we don't know what's happening in many cases. So if you are a small business owner, or if you own a corporation, doesn't matter, and you're importing goods because we're not manufacturing enough yet, that's going to affect your business. And either you're going to take risks, but most people are not going to take these risks because they don't understand what's going on. They're not sure what's going to happen. Is it going to be 15% or 25%? Is it going to ruin my business or cause my business to flourish? Am I going to have to raise my prices or reduce my profits? This is what it comes down to. Now, one of the issues, obviously associated with this, is the Trump Federal Reserve. That's what it comes down to. And, of course, these high interest rates right now, people don't like them. It's slowing for the housing market. Trump has blasted him for this. And he said, this is what Trump said, he said, housing in our country is lagging because Jerome Too-Late Powell refuses to lower the interest rates. He should have done this a while ago, I think, because, again, inflation is low enough where he can reduce it, but he hasn't yet. Now, whether it's political, maybe he knows something I don't know, or any of the people I listen to in the economy know. But people are not going to want to pay 6.5% for a house. I'm just telling you that, folks. It's going to raise your mortgage rate by roughly, again, on a modest house, about $2,000. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to pay back, especially on something so expensive. Again, the modest house is $435,000. It's a lot of money. But now mortgage rates, understand this. The mortgage rates are not directly tied just to the Fed's actions. We have to think about what's happening in the bond market, which again is decreasing. I mentioned this to you before. Not a good thing as well. Not a good thing as well. So, you buy a bond. That means you buy a part of the debt. Of course, you invest. And once that bond matures, you get your money back. Well, what happened recently is you're seeing people just simply cash out on these bonds, causing the government to lose more money. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. So what is the answer to this? What do we need to have happen? Yes, I think the interest rates need to drop. That's important. We want the interest rates to come down. I think we all would like that. Not to zero, but to come down a little bit, because you're going to see the economy open up again. That's what I think we all want to see. One other thing that we should also understand, when you have, again, and I say this because it's the truth, when you have 40, 45, 50 million illegals in your country, they have to use up part of the housing. Yes? Now, again, if Donald Trump follows through on his promise, and we now see 50 million people are no longer here, you're going to see that supply and demand obviously change. But what you're also going to see is the price of these housing units to drop, is what you'll see as well, because the market's not going to be as flooded. And again, when you push in, as Joe Biden did, I say this almost all the time because it's causing so many problems across the board. When you push in 20 million illegal aliens in 4 years, those people have to live somewhere. Those people have to go somewhere. And they have to try to find housing. So it becomes this insane market. The market becomes flooded. It's like Cloward and Piven, folks. Overwhelm the system. And that's what you're seeing right now. You're seeing the system become completely overwhelmed. Not a good thing. It's not something positive. But I wanted to share that with you because, again, it's obviously something we should keep our eyes on. And let's hope, again, that these interest rates begin to fall. Let's hope that these individual states begin to obviously build more housing to accommodate the population. But let's hope we get our population under control. And that Donald Trump, again, follows through on his word on the deportations of these illegal aliens. Let's hope so. But again, you're going to see the market open up if you have millions upon millions of people starting to leave. Again, the illegal immigration in this country, folks, is this whole big thing. I mean, some people just blow it off. It doesn't affect you. It affects people. It does affect people. Absolutely affects people. And again, that's why you see these markets being flooded. That's another reason why. They have to have housing. Look at this example, though. It says here, after referring to this family here, and it says here they wanted to move to a bigger house in the D.C. area. I don't know why you'd want to do that. But they didn't want to give up their 2.25% mortgage rate to take out a 6% or above 6% mortgage rate, right? They don't want to pay that rate. They limited their search to homes with assumable loans. That's something you can look for if you're looking to buy a home. And I understand people relocate for work at this time of year. This is when people start to move in June, July. They relocate for work, or perhaps there's a divorce or something else that's taxing. You're starting a family. You need to find a bigger home. It's understandable. It's absolutely understandable. So this family, rightly so, looked to have assumable loans, which can then be transferred to a new buyer. Only some kind of loans are allowed to be assumable. After a few months of searching, though, they bought a 5-bedroom house with a pool, nice, in Virginia, right outside in the D.C. area, and assumed the mortgage rate with a 2.75% rate. So that's a much more feasible option. And the homeowner estimated that if they had bought the house at the same current mortgage rates, right, their monthly payment would be about $2,000 higher. I mean, that's ridiculous. $2,000 is a lot of money, folks. And again, when you have an economy like ours, when you see things shifting the way we're seeing things shift, when you're seeing AI come in, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future, do you really want to take on that big investment? I don't know, folks. You tell me. So right now, housing not looking good, but I think it will improve in time. Give it some time, folks. Give it some time. You know, one thing that's very good that Trump is doing, and I like this, he announced this yesterday, that they had reached a massive trade deal with Japan. I like this. I like trade. I like when people invest in America. I like that. And of course, Donald Trump coming in, getting people to invest. Who could not want that? In this social media post on Tuesday evening, the president wrote that Japan had agreed to open its country to imports of American cars, trucks, rice, and other agricultural products, as well as invest, get this, $550 billion into the United States. Now, he said that Japanese exports to the U.S. would be charged a 15% tariff, lower than the 25% that he had threatened originally. Threatened? I don't like this. I don't like this threatened nonsense. You know, we've talked about the reason why we have these trade deficits. It has nothing to do with anybody ripping us off, by the way. But someone's got to pay that 15%. And this is what I go back to the economy for. We're talking about inflation, and will it be inflationary if we have these tariffs? Many people say no. The inflation is keeping up in the regular 2% range. We're about 2.7% right now. If we want to get people to invest, though, $550 billion in the United States, we want to get good-paying manufacturing jobs. This is what we want. This is what he should be pushing for. And again, I'm glad we're exporting cars and our agricultural sector. Fantastic. That's great. I'm happy about that. But all those imports that are coming in now, 15% tariff on them. Who's going to pay the 15%? We talked about this yesterday. Either the company loses its profits. Think about the GM reference I made yesterday. Well, they've lost $1.1 billion in profits. Or they've got to push that tax onto you, that 15%. So you have to ask yourself, do you want your goods to be 15% more if they're coming in from Japan? I don't know. Do you want to pay more? You know, we tout, we made $100 billion thus far in our tariffs. And I say, yeah, that's great, but who's paying for that? It's either the businesses in America or it's the people that are making up that difference. Same thing when inflation kicked in with Joe Biden, right? When inflation kicked in, there was a pizzeria I was going to for a while, and the owner told me at the time, this is early on, things were starting to get more expensive. And he was trying his best to, again, not raise the price on his customers. So he was eating the cost. Well, eventually, if you're not turning that profit, you can't keep up on that. You've got to start raising your prices. So what happened? The prices shot up. And they're going up. I mean, there's economics 101, folks. Things have got to go up. So if we're getting a 15% tariff on Japanese exports, that's better than 25%, obviously. But again, someone's going to pay that price. Someone's got to pay that price. They pay that the moment they drop into port. All these imports. They pay right away. That money goes to the treasury. So the business either has to decide, are we going to take a cut in our profit? Are we going to not invest? Are we not going to expand? Are we not going to hire new people? Are we going to lay off people? I mean, these are all realistic things that can happen. Or are we going to pass the cost along to our customers? So is that, I don't know, automobile from Japan going to be 15% more? Is what you have to ask yourself. Only time will tell, folks. Only time will tell. You know, I found this next article in the Washington Post really interesting. I think you're going to get a laugh for this. I did. I gotta laugh about this. I thought it was hilarious, by the way. It says the detention of 2 Italians at Alligator Alcatraz sparks backlash at home. Oh, what's going on here? It says the detention of 2 Italian nationals at Alligator Alcatraz, the new immigration detention center in Florida's Everglades, are sparking criticism from lawmakers in Italy, who are now calling on the country's conservative government to speak out. Now, this is hilarious to me. This is hilarious. You have Gaetano Mirabella Costa and Fernando Ortiz are being held in, this is the Democratic faction in Italian politics. They're being held in inhumane and degrading conditions at the facility. This is what Laura Baldrini, a lawmaker with the opposition Democratic Party, said on social media, pushing for the men to be repatriated. Angelo Bonelli of the Green Europe Party said that the 2 Italians had been locked in cages without access to a lawyer, deprived of dignity, water, and decent food. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen these tours of these facilities. I don't think anyone is in a cage in any of these. We've heard about this before. AOC going to the border, crying in front of an empty fence in front of her with nothing there. The fake outrage saying that kids are in cages and this and that, regardless of the point that Obama built all these cages, so to speak, then, because he's the one that created these facilities. It's ridiculousness. It's absolute ridiculousness. We've seen what's going on here. We've seen this. But the thing I'm curious about is that we were told by the ladies of The View, the View of ignoramus women, we're told by all these people that the Trump administration is racist and they're only going after brown people. Interesting. Last I checked, Italians are white Europeans. So who are these 2 individuals? Who are they? What's going on here? Yeah, not good, not good. Who are they? Let's see. We've got Mr. Costa here, as I mentioned, who overstayed a B2 tourism visa for 7 years. Not bad. That's a good vacation. Oh, must have some money. Ortiz entered the United States, the other one, using the visa waiver program, which authorized a stay of about 3 months, but he remained in the country for over a decade. Oh, perhaps he was using Common Core math, 3 months, 10 years, that equals the same thing. DHS said that both had been arrested over alleged criminal offenses, but did not immediately respond to a request for clarification on whether either had been convicted of a crime. So we don't know if they've committed other crimes, rather. In the United States, we have no idea what they've done, besides, again, overstay their visas, which, again, is illegal. They're non-citizens. And it seems as though the Trump administration is making good on their claim. If you're here illegally, doesn't matter who you are, you will go back to your country of origin. You will be repatriated to your country. And I think that's what we are seeing right here. Of course, you're going to get the smear tactics from, I guess, even Democratic politicians in Europe. That's what you're seeing right now. Look at this. Detainees and former guards told the Washington Post that last week that deliveries of drinking water and bathing water were inadequate. What does that mean? What does inadequate mean? The tents covering the detainees and chain link cells did not keep out rainwater. I mean, I'd have to look into this more. I mean, come on. I mean, we were told before. Remember, we were told that they're drinking out of toilets at the immigration detention facilities on the border. That's what AOC said, right? Oh, they're drinking from the toilet. Oh, my God. I mean, there's 2 brain cells that are rubbing together there, aren't they? Ridiculousness. I think Trump is, again, holding his word on this. I think that, again, he's going after people. First, with, again, criminal offenses that are here illegally. And he is deporting them, regardless of their race, their religion. Doesn't matter. Everyone that's not here, or not supposed to be here, are going back to where they're supposed to go. And that's good on them. That's good on them. So there we go. There's a Trump win, and of course it debunks everything that the left is saying about Donald Trump, and of course this whole immigration process. The BBC has this really interesting article out. I got to share this with you. This one made me laugh because it's so ridiculous and over the top, but it's funny to me. So I'm going to read this to you. Let's hear this. It says, Emmanuel Macron files defamation suit against U.S. influencer Candace Owens. What's going on here? What's going on with old macaroni? It says here the French president and his wife Brigitte have filed a defamation lawsuit against right-wing influencer Candace Owens, who claimed that France's first lady was born a man. The suit filed Wednesday in the U.S. state of Delaware said that Owens has been spreading outlandish, defamatory, and far-fetched fictions. Owens has regularly repeated these claims on her popular podcast and social media channels, and in March of 2024 stated that she would stake her entire professional reputation on her belief that Mrs. Macron is in fact a man. I mean, this is just so funny. The fact that we're even talking about this ridiculous nonsense just shows you how far we've fallen as a species, folks. Because again, this topic obviously has become commonplace now, right? It all started back when Obama said that, hey, use whatever restroom you feel like using. And it sparked this entire ridiculous movement, of course, of degeneracy in this country. And, of course, refutation of reality is what we're seeing right now. Now, there are people that struggle with this condition, right? This gender dysphoria. But here we are now where we're seeing this constantly now. We hear this all the time. We hear about men trying to play in female sports. And we have to actually write bills that say men cannot play in female sports. I mean, this is where we are as a people now. And we see how these things get completely out of control. So the conspiracy theory, which has been circulating for years in fringe online spaces, the article goes on to say, alleges Mrs. Macron was born under the name Jean-Michel Trogdon. I think is how you say that last name. That's her maiden name, which belongs to her brother. Interesting. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. Owens has spread the conspiracy theory to her large audiences that include nearly 7 million followers on X. Earlier this year, she released a video series titled Becoming Bridget. They can't like that one, can they? This is an odd relationship. This is a really, really odd relationship because she's 72, he's 47. It's just odd. The relationship itself is just odd. And now the Macrons said in a statement released by their attorneys that they had asked Owens repeatedly for this redaction, but ultimately concluded that referring to the matter to a court of law was the only remaining avenue for remedy. Yeah, this is odd. This is odd stuff. Really is. Mrs. Owens' campaign of defamation was plainly designed to harass and cause pain to us and our families to garner attention and notoriety. We gave her every opportunity to back away from these claims, but she refused. All right, so what is the end result of all this? What is the end result of all this? Where do we go from here? Candace Owens has every right to say whatever the hell she wants. That's really what it comes down to. And if she believes this, then she can make whatever claim she wants, obviously. I mean, if they're not happy with this, the very simple and easy thing to do is to, obviously prove that she's a woman and share those results. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. If they want to disprove this, however ridiculous people seem to think this is, that's the easiest way to do it, right? Submit a DNA test, show that her chromosomes are that of a female, that they're YY, and there you go. Right? That's the way it works. That's the way it works. And that could dispel, again, everything. And that would be it. There would be nothing else. Nothing else there at all. It would just end. Right? Oh, I'm sorry. Females have XX, not YY. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, XX. There you go. See if she has the chromosomes. Boom. Put that to rest. It's over. Everyone will be happy afterwards, I suppose. There's other ways to check it out too. I mean, there's 600 physical differences between men and women. I don't know if everyone knows that. There's so many differences just in the physical aspect between men and women. I mean, all that information is there. You can check it out. So again, if they want to sue or do whatever to Candace Owens, just do the test. See if you have the XX chromosomes. If she does, then it's over. It's over. They can do face scan. I mean, they can check the size of the skull, the pelvis. I mean, there's so many things you can look into. And it's odd talking about this because it's so out there. But sadly enough, these things do exist. And so there's my 2 cents on all of that. Then, of course, here in this article, they go to try to, refute Candace Owens. She's spreading rumors about conspiracy lies like COVID vaccines, which we've talked about, which are completely unsafe for use. The Holocaust, the moonlanders. She can talk about whatever the hell she wants to talk about. What the hell? We're not in France, are we? Are we in France? No, we're not in France. She wants to talk about whatever the hell she wants to talk about. We can. You don't have to agree with her. But again, she has every right to talk about whatever she decides to talk about. And there's my take on that one. Real easy. Do a DNA test. Submit it. Prove it. It's over. Okay? There it is. This article I have now is about this Florida traffic stop that's been going viral over the last couple of days. I keep seeing it all over social media. And it's really ridiculous on many fronts. There was a young driver, black man, he's driving, and he's pulled over by this police officer in Jacksonville. And he's being told, you're being pulled over because you're not driving with your lights on, the weather's inclement, and you weren't driving with a seatbelt on. And the suspect right now, is the one who released this footage. This is what was circulating at first. And he's showing you the very end of, again, this encounter he had with the police, the Jacksonville sheriff's officers. And so William McNeil Jr. is his name, but I went through a little further and I actually looked through the police report to see what the hell's going on. Because again, we're getting some of the police camera footage. We're getting like the very end of it. And you're only getting his version that he's, been wrongfully pulled over and he should have been pulled over and the cops weren't, telling me why, which again, everyone has a right to ask why they're being detained. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to break this down just so we're all on the same page with this, so we all understand what's going on here. So this police report starts off by saying, 417, he's pulled over, headlights and taillights were off in inclement weather. And again, it was overcast that day. I saw the police camera footage that the sky was overcast. It didn't appear to be raining to me, but the driver was told that he also was not wearing a seatbelt. That was in the report. The officer then said in the police report that once he pulled over McNeil opened his door quickly, not his window. Apparently his window was broken, and immediately became verbally combative. The officer told McNeil the reason why he stopped him, which he has to, then asked for identification, to which McNeil replied, "Call your supervisor," before closing the door and locking it. The officer then calls for backup and telling McNeil that he's being placed on arrest for resisting an officer without violence. Again, he's not complying with the lawful demand. So, what happens next? Again, he's given more warnings. He rolls his window down. He's talking to another officer. All right? And the officer, you hear him, he's telling him why he's getting pulled over. He's saying he didn't do anything. So the officer says, "Go for it." And at that point, the window is broken out on the driver's side. And in the process, you see one of the officer's hands come in and slap him in the side of the face, on his left side of his face. Didn't punch him, his hand was open, but he pushes through, and his hand hits him right in the temple area and pushes him to the side. So at this point in the police report, the officer states that he was reaching for the floorboard of the car where a large knife was sitting. So this is in the police report. Again, as multiple officers unbuckled him, right? They told him to keep his hands up. Well, then he has folding his hands. Then he's saying, "What did I do?" They unbuckle him. They take him out of the car, to which they say he's under arrest, and it seems like he starts resisting again, and you see an officer strike him in the side of the face. So that's the rundown of it. Apparently, he was thrown to the ground, obviously, and he chipped his tooth. The report noticed that there was blood in his mouth, obviously from probably being brought down or being struck in the face. I'm not sure, but you do see an officer strike him in the side of the face as he's, again, resisting. The report ends up saying that around 3.5 grams of marijuana were removed from the car, as well as drug paraphernalia. That'd be something used to either conceal the drug or take the drug. And the knife was mentioned in the report as well. So there you go. So now, here's the problem. Here's the issue with all this. Number one, you're pulled over, right? Let's say you disagree with why you're being pulled over. Let's say you thought you were in full compliance with the law. Let's just say that. Yes, you have a right to ask why you're being detained or why you're being pulled over. They should give you a reason. They have to. If you're not satisfied with that, you don't simply just lock your car door or roll up your window and refuse to comply when an officer is telling you to, again, identify yourself. Because now you are not complying with the law. Again, the officer has no idea what's inside your vehicle. In this case, it says that there was a large knife on the floorboard. Now, he doesn't know. He opens his window. You're going to try to do anything to him, throw something at him. You have anything else in the car? We have no idea. Because again, you're not identifying yourself. So while Mr. McNeil can question why, he still has to lawfully show who he is. He has to identify himself. He should follow the officer's commands, which were all standard. He has every right to say, "Show me your ID. Get out of the car." And again, McNeil is not complying. Another officer clearly comes in and is explaining this to him. And in which case he tells that officer, "Get your supervisor." And that's when they decided to break the window. So the moral of the story here, and I'm going to play his lawyers in just a moment, because again, it's getting out of control. The moral of the story is comply. If an officer says, "Keep your hands on the steering wheel," you keep your hands on the steering wheel. If the officer says license and registration, you get your license and registration and hand it to them. You ask you a question, you answer them. That's how you do it. Because again, you're not going to win any argument with a cop by, being rude to him or not complying. You're just asking again to, be arrested in this situation. That's what's happening here. That's what you see going on. And had he have, just complied, maybe he would have let him go. Who knows? We have no idea. Maybe he gave him a warning. We have no idea. But when you start being defiant, then it leads to these situations where now backup's there. Now they're going to try to get you out of the car. And now you're arrested for resisting arrest. Not complying. So my advice to you, even if you're upset, you got pulled over, okay. Comply with the law. That's all you have to do. Comply. And when you comply, or if you're upset afterwards, you can get the officer's badge number. You can go to, file a complaint with a lawyer afterwards. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. You don't act disrespectful. You don't close your door. You don't roll up the window. You don't keep telling someone to get their supervisor when they're bringing you multiple officers. You comply with what they're saying. Again, this is why you see this happen between the cop and the young man. Because, again, he's not going out there and he's not following the command that's given. Again, they don't know who he is. They have no idea who he is. By the way, he was also driving with a suspended license, they found out afterwards. Now, of course, the cop didn't know that pulling him over, but he was driving with a suspended license. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. And by the way, he pled guilty to that as well. This is their lawyer, though. They went with the Ben Crump case. Remember, Ben Crump was the one that defended the George Floyd family. So you know this is going to become a spectacle really, really soon. This is one of the lawyers, though, I think his name is Harry Daniels, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's his name. Let me see here. I think that's who he is. Yeah, Harry Daniels. This is the one speaking right now. And again, this is what they're going to make this case out of. Let's take a listen.
On February the 19th, 2025 this year, America saw what America is. You saw injustice. You saw abuse of police power. But most importantly, we saw a young man that had a temperament to control himself in the face of brutality. William McNeil. Let me be clear. And people talked about him pleading guilty to resist without violence and driving on suspended license. That entire stop was not just pretextual, racial motivated, it was unlawful. And everything that stemmed from that stop was unlawful. What we're not gonna do this morning is get in the back and forth between the leaders of Jacksonville. What we're gonna do, we're gonna focus on the facts. And everybody saw the video.
No. Everyone saw his video. We haven't seen the entire encounter from start to finish. Yeah, we saw his latest version of it from his point of view. The last 30 or 40 seconds of it. Yeah, we saw that. See, this is what happens when you see things out of context. You see the final moments. You see him saying, get your supervisor, then break a window, pulling him out. Obviously, the hand that comes through and hits him. You say, oh, well, that seems excessive. But maybe the police officer saw him reach for the knife. We don't know. The body cam footage will likely show something. If there's something on the ground. Or if there was a knife on the floorboard. We see these things and we see like the last stages of it. Again, and you say, oh my God, this is horrible. And now, I don't obviously want anyone to get hit in the face by a police officer. But we have to ask ourselves, he's pled guilty to these two charges: resisting arrest, driving with a suspended license. God knows, and by the way, the marijuana charges are probably going to be in there as well. They may have dropped those, but I looked it up and it says here that the only way you can drive with marijuana is you have a marijuana card issued to you. That's the only way you could have that. So there's no recreational use for marijuana in Florida. So maybe he has illegal marijuana in his car. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to get pulled over. I don't know. We don't know. And of course, if he's driving under the influence, say same penalties as a drunk driver. So this whole thing, you look at what's going on here. He's got drugs in the car. He's got paraphernalia in the car. He might have a knife on the floorboard. Cops may have seen that. But if you're not opening up, if you're not, again, giving your license, if you're not complying, if you're putting your hand, reaching it, they don't know what you're reaching for. And then they're going to get even more physical with you, more than likely. But right now, they're trying to set the narrative. This is racially motivated. This is what America is. Look, all you have to do is comply. I just said it. All you have to do is comply. You comply, you put your hands on the steering wheel, you give them what they want. Let's say he writes you up a ticket for not having your lights on. Okay. That's a minor traffic violation. It's a misdemeanor. He might go and argue that. He has every right to if he wants to. Right? But what you don't have a right to do is, again, be defiant, lock up your car, and refuse to follow commands, lawful commands that the police give you. You don't have that right. But again, this is another case where they're trying to, again, set the pretext. This is racially motivated. There's nothing. There was a black officer there that was assisting with arresting this man. So again, it's just stupid in and of itself. Again, I'm not condoning a police hitting anybody in the face. We don't want to see that. But the whole thing was spun out of control because the driver refused to comply. Yes, he has a right to say why he's being pulled over. No one's denying that. He can ask why you're pulling me over. But he's going to get in this back and forth with the cop and then shut the door and then not come out, not follow the lawful commands. Then this is why you see people being extracted from the vehicle, which the police had a right to do. And again, I think if obviously an officer struck him, I think that officer obviously needs to be reprimanded for that as well. That shouldn't be happening, that aspect of it. But what you saw here was, again, somebody being, again, defiant during a police stop. That's what you saw. It's not like he was complying and they just punched him in the face and dragged him out of the car. That's a totally different situation. Of course, now they're saying, hey, he didn't have to drive with his lights on. Well, first of all, why would the cop pull him over then? Hey, it's racially motivated. He was wearing a seatbelt. In the video footage, you see him wearing a seatbelt at that point in the video. You have no idea if he put it on afterwards. So as this, again, blows up more, we'll see more about this case, I'm sure. We'll see it on the national news eventually. You'll hear about how America's a racist country and all this nonsense. And it just seems to never, ever end, does it? So, folks, when you get pulled over, comply. Don't be a jerk to the cop. Listen to what he says. If you don't like what he's saying, get his badge number, file a grievance, get a lawyer, and handle it that way. Okay? Don't be defiant. Don't be rude, because you're not going to win in that situation, ever. I guarantee you. You will never win. If you start being defiant, refusing to comply, refusing to ID yourself, it's not going to end well. All right, final article of the day. Here we go. The Cleveland Clinic last year came up with this clinical study that adds increasing evidence that this sugar substance, erythritol, raises your risk of cardiovascular disease. Oh, wonderful. Right? All these sweeteners, we add sugar to everything, and then we wonder why people are getting sick, and of course, why cancer is on the rise. So the research in this study shows that foods containing this erythritol, this popular artificial sweetener now, increases the risk of cardiovascular events such as heart attack and stroke. This is why I tell you, folks, you need to start reading your labels. You need to know everything that's in the food that you're consuming. Obviously, getting a heart attack, getting strokes, not a good thing. We don't want this. We need to keep ourselves strong and fit. And again, added sugar, generally, it's just something that's going to add pounds on. You can only ingest about, 4 or so grams at a time of sugar. The rest of it just gets stored as fat. Not a good thing. We don't want this. So what do the findings show? Well, from this new interventional study in healthy volunteers show that erythritol made platelets. The platelets are these thrombocytes in the blood, and they're basically like a defense mechanism. And what they will do is, let's say you cut yourself, the platelets will go right to that area and will clot, right? That's where we get clotting from. Well, what they found is that it makes these platelets in the blood now more active, which then results in more blood clots without that. And of course, they found out in the study that sugar or glucose, right? Your regular table sugar did not even have this effect. So we have this artificial sweetener, this chemically made sweetener, being added to some food substance. And of course, now it is causing clotting in the body, causing heart attack, causing stroke, possibly death. And now the research adds that the increasing evidence that erythritol may not be safe as currently classified by food regulatory agencies that should be reevaluated as an ingredient. Now, of course, who passed this? Well, of course, the FDA passed this. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? RFK, can you get on this? ASAP? I mean, it's just ridiculous when we see this stuff. The new human intervention study was designed to more directly observe the effects on these platelets following erythritol ingestion at a dose typically contained in a sugarless soda or a muffin. Now, in 20 healthy volunteers, researchers found that the average erythritol level after eating over 1,000 times, eating increased over 1,000 times in the group that consumed this erythritol compared to their initial levels. The results also revealed participants showed a significant increase in blood clot formation after consuming this erythritol, but no change was observed after consuming glucose. So what does that mean, folks? What does that mean? It means stay away from this. It means don't eat this. This is not good for you. Why would you want to consume something that causes something like heart attack or blood clots or strokes. It's only going to lead to something that's not good for you in the end. Folks, that's all the time we've got for you today. And again, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you'll share it with some friends. Hope you like, follow, do all that good stuff. It always helps us out. I appreciate when you do that, by the way. And again, let's do things that are good for our bodies. Let's put good organic foods. Start reading your labels. Know what's in your body. That's the way we start making a difference in this country. Folks, again, make sure you keep your house in order. Stay square with God. And I'll see you tomorrow on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good, stay busy, God bless. See you later.